Hi everyone, and welcome to a digitalEdchat summary on student innovation. Well, Monday's chat was a fantastic one with a range of people from around the world commenting on one of the great issues challenging us in the classroom of today and certainly the classroom of tomorrow. So once we got over the introductions, it was down to business. Our first question I asked the PLN was, how would you define student innovation? Now, what I love about questions like this is it opens up a whole range of options, and none of them are textbook dictionary definitions. Instead, they're legitimate, authentic definitions that teachers have derived from being in the classroom every day and attempting to student innovate. For many, it wasn't about anything new per se. It was about a reimagining or a remodification or repackaging of existing processes or student uses or teacher and student roles in the classroom. It was really fascinating that increasingly as we move along this education technology journey, it seems that less and less is new, but more and more is refined or reimagined. So in many cases, the definition of student innovation was actually just enhancing the student agency, the student choices, and in many cases, focusing on the journey over the outcome. The second question I posed to PLN was, what are the positives of student innovation? And we got a number of varied but highly quality responses. Ones such as, well, it puts students at the centre of their learning and encourages them to think, to be resilient, and to be agentic. But there was a lot more than that. From my point of view, one of the positives of student innovation is it creates a better workflow in the classroom. If students are innovating, they are more responsible in terms of their resource use, in terms of their timings, and also who they work with, for how long, and why. So there's a lot of positives about student innovation that are direct and indirect, but ultimately they contribute to a more effective classroom. But then I had to play devil's advocate and ask for the negatives of student innovation. And here I was really impressed with a lot of the contributions. One of the major ones was, what is the role of the teacher in a student innovation context? And it seems increasingly the opinion is that teachers have to accept a role change. Students are evolving, so teachers likewise need to evolve. There was also a number of negatives of student innovation, such as being able to resource the desires of the students in terms of what they want to innovate and how they want to innovate. But also some of the other negatives were, often it is very hard to fit legitimate, valid and authentic innovation within traditional timetables or traditional learning spaces. Other negatives of the student innovation thrust were suggested to be along the lines of that students could get so caught in the macro or the outcome and not focus on the macro and the journey of innovation itself. So then we started talking about the barriers to student innovation, and this is where we got some really, really good, honest and valid answers. In a lot of cases, the barriers to student innovation are often mindset, but often it does come down to resourcing, physical, education technology, or just having the right teachers with the right students for innovation to flourish. Often, students are less susceptible to effective innovation where they do not have the confidence or predetermined ability or indeed training to be truly innovative. It is quite tough to ask a student to stand on their own or with others and to think creatively or reimagine some project or learning or something along those lines if they have not been pre-taught the necessary dispositions. But what I love about the digitalEdchat PLN is that these are only barriers and not necessarily permanent. If we view them as challenges and we think collaboratively and we work with our students, these barriers are not insurmountable for the teacher, for the classroom, or for the student. So what is the role of the teacher in student innovation? Well, it was quite emphatically made the point that a teacher has to change. They have to evolve, or effectively, it's not they lose ownership of the classroom, but in reality, it's taken away from them. So the role of the teacher in innovation is to set a safe set of parameters to enable the students to feel confident about failing, to have enough time to fail, and to have enough time and confidence to focus on the journey and not worry so much about the outcome. And so in this regard, the role of the teacher is also to ensure that assessment is of the learning, less so the outcome. Assess the journey, assess how confident they are, assess how creative they are, not whether it's a perfect artifact they come up with or along those lines. So then I asked the Go for Gold question. What are your student innovation wishes? And boy, did we get some cracking answers. A number of the answers basically suggested the removal of school-imposed barriers, such as classroom space and timetabling. Timetabling was a really big one, because it's one thing to be innovative, it's another thing to be able to be innovative under pressure or in a traditional classroom. Resourcing also came up as a major wish, that where students were innovative and the teacher was like, wow, that's a great idea, we just don't have the resources, that's not legitimate innovation. So what was pleasing was the wishes were big picture. They were big dreams. They were big wishes. And if we think really big in terms of student innovation, if we think really big and creatively, the students will follow. And whether we like it or not, we have to work with a hand we're dealt. So we need to look around at our existing resource, at our resisting barriers, at our constraints, and think, what is the best we can make of this, and how can we use these barriers for good, for effective learning of student innovation. So this was a fantastic chat. As always, the PLN broadened my mind, gave me heaps of awesome solutions, but also fundamentally emphasized that student innovation is only really successful if the innovation continues when the boy or girl is no longer a student. That is, when they leave school, they're still capable of innovating either by themselves or with others, but they no longer need the scaffolding or support of the school to be truly innovative. That's when we know we've cracked it. So, thanks for the touching base with this latest digitalEdchat summary, this time on student innovation. If you'd like to take part, we hold our digitalEdchats every fortnight during New Zealand school time, and our next one is a cracker. Our next one is Lego Learning. So, thanks for watching, have a great week, keep cool to after school, and please like this video and subscribe. We'll see you later.